Let's go, baby. Let's go.
It's
Welcome. This is the Blue versus Green show. I am your host, Gabe, and I am joined by Walt. Say what's up. Uh, dope ass weekend. It's been a while since we've had another weekend where we both of our teams have won, and not just win, not squeak by wins, but like in stellar fashion. Now, the ramification of those wins are interesting. Some on the positive side, some possibly on the negative side. But all newsworthy and finally something for us to celebrate after so many weeks of misery. Thank you guys for joining us. Before we continue, don't forget to please like, rate, share, and subscribe. Hit that notify button so you guys get notified as soon as we drop our episodes. But let's go ahead and let's get right into it, man. Walt, we are going to start with the Giants.
we are going to start with the Giants.
We just finished watching the game.
Look at that score, man. Look at that score.
I mean, it was tight. It was tighter than it needed to be honest. But we're gonna get into why it could have been a little bit of a wider margin. But I need to know what your thoughts on the game were. I know that you came in a little bit late on the game, but I mean, lay it on me.
So I actually got to sit down and truly watch the game probably about the end of the second quarter. And I believe it was still like what 7-7 or something like that. And then the Packers had the field goal at the end of the half to take a 10-7 lead, right?
Right. Yeah.
So everything for me was I used the YouTube key plays catch up button just to try and get back to there. You don't know what that is?
No. I'm reading the title right now. The Legend of Tommy DeVito grows.
That's right, man. That's right.
Oh my God.
Tommy Cutlets. Listen, it's funny because there was a point in the game. I think it was like late in the fourth quarter, and they put up the graphic that Tommy DeVito had only 106 yards passing.
Yes.
And I sat there and I'm like, how is that even possible? Because it felt like Tommy DeVito was in on every play, and he was impactful in every play, and he was, and I guess that's just the growth and just his presence of being on the field right now. And I got to tell you this, man. Tommy DeVito may have started as like a nice little tale, a fun little story, the Jersey Boy, the Sopranos, the little touchdown dance that he has. Listen, I think we got to start looking at Tommy in a totally different light at this point, because
I do too.
Stuff that he was doing today. I mean, there was some elite level throws there, and then just after that devastating fumble by Barkley, and then to see the Packers come down and score the touchdown, leaving you with like what 40 seconds left.
Something like that. It was definitely it was around the 43, 44 seconds left on the clock in order to make something happen.
DeVito was as cool as the other side of the pillow, man. I mean, he just
one of my favorite lines of all time.
There you go, Stuart Scott. Rest in peace, man. Dude was just, he did not look worried at all. That was amazing.
And that's the thing about Tommy DeVito, and I've said it since actually his very first starting game, is that he looked composed. He didn't look frazzled. He looked like a veteran. He's an undrafted rookie that looks like he's been there before, which he has actually. Remember, he won the state championship at MetLife Stadium. So he definitely has, and he won it. He won it with the Giants with Giants blue on the field, But that's the thing. That's the most remarkable thing, is that he doesn't look like it's just his third starting game. He's looking better week by week. And I don't know what to tell you, man. Like I started off like a little bit skeptical about Tommy DeVito, not so much about him as a backup quarterback, because as you mentioned, we were both pretty high on him when we saw him play in preseason games and stuff.
We were him and David Sills, remember?
Yeah, exactly. We were like, yo, man, we want both of these guys, man. Like, we were seeing some really, really great stuff, but when it came down to like having the O line that we have, not having the offensive weapons that we thought that we would have, which I still think that like offensively, our weapons are still underperforming. But it's just like when I saw the circumstances of everything, I just did not think that Tommy DeVito would be 3-0 to start.
That is absolutely crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. And you're right, man. He made some like highlight, I mean, he has his own highlight reel now, but he made some like super high level throws. Cool, cool as a cucumber, not scared at all. He said in the post game, right on the field, he's like, "Hey, this is just a kid's game. I'm just playing like a kid," and I love that about him.
Yeah.
I know that we have some clips of DeVito. I want to see actually some of those throws that he hit first, and then we could talk about the man in black. that very special character in black.
Let me tell you something. If you hadn't said Man in Black, that was the first one I was gonna lead with.
Oh my God! The thing is, the only way that the legend of Tommy DeVito grows is if we keep talking about Tommy DeVito. So let's go ahead and play some of those clips.
All right. So the first one that we're gonna roll up here is the flea flicker, which I thought was an amazing play.
Unbelievable throw,
and the throw that preceded it was incredible. And here we go. I mean, you look at this, DeVito's poised and calm and just throws a beautiful ball. Now, you also have to give credit to who's 17, Wan'Dale Robinson?
It was Wan'Dale Robinson, I believe. Yeah, it was Wan'Dale Robinson. He actually, I think he's becoming DeVito's number one go-to guy, it seems like. He's the one that's making those big catches for DeVito. He had another big catch right by the sideline a little later on.
And he also had that little scamper, the handoff right down the left sideline.
Yes.
Right before the first touchdown. So
yeah, Wan'Dale had a big game actually today.
He did.
But yeah, that little flicker play right there. Like one thing that you look at is when he ran the play and he got the ball again, he looked perfectly composed. He waited a beat. He knew he needed to wait that one beat. Doesn't matter the chaos in front of him. He knew how long he had to wait, when he had to wait, and he waited with composure, threw that ball with confidence. And man, that ball was caught in traffic, and it was just a hell of a play. There was a hand in there. I forget who it was that was a defender, but there was a hand in there, and Wan'Dale still made that catch and made that play.
You gotta give
unbelievable effort from everybody on that field right there.
Yeah, and you also got to give Wan'Dale some credit because that ball. We're waxing poetic on how great that throw was. It was a little underthrown, but you know what? Wan'Dale made a great adjustment at the end to kind
Let's see it again. I don't know that it was underthrown because Wan'Dale had to jump up to catch it, right? So it looked at his belly, but he jumped up. No,
he had to slow down and turn around. To catch it. So,
can we see it again? Actually, I want to see it again.
Absolutely. So if you look here, right at that point, you see where he slowed down.
You're right.
And again, it's not taking anything away from
No. I mean, look, he completed it.
He put it in a place where he knew his guy was gonna go and get it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So again, a lot of credit goes to DeVito there for having the composure and waiting that beat. But also, we got to give a lot of credit to Wan'Dale because he recognized where the ball was coming from and he went after it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I mean, the case could be made if he throws actually a little bit further, a little bit higher. It could have been intercepted.
Exactly.
I forget who it was that was on the corner there. It was dang, I had his name. Was it? I think it was. Oh man, I'm not sure who it was now.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they like it did look like it could have been caught. Now we have another clip, no?
Yeah. So and this is probably my favorite throw by DeVito in this game. This is the dart that he threw corner end zone. Beautiful placement, beautiful catch.
What was beautiful about it was that he had to survive the onslaught that was coming, create the play. He basically had to create that play.
Yeah, it was great. Here we go. So again, little roll out there by DeVito, and he gets perfect placement. I mean, he threw that in a place where only his guy was going to go get that. You know, Hodgins putting both feet down. You know what I'm saying? That was just that to me. When I see something like that from a guy like DeVito, that kind of stuff. That's high level. That was a high level elite throw right there.
That was borderline Mahomian.
Yeah, because you know what? He's rolling out to his right.
Rolling out to the right, throwing a sidearm into the corner of the end zone, the back corner of the end zone.
In a place where his guy, it went a place where
beautiful.
His guy can get it. That's the thing. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't one of these things where it's like, oh, he had like about this much space to kind of put that in that window, right? And he put it through it beautifully.
And good job keeping those toes in, man. Unbelievable play. Unbelievable play.
You look at that and I gotta ask the question, man. Do you even look at a quarterback? I mean, I know this is getting a little too crazy to talk about right at this point, but like you said, 3-0. This team responds to him. This team, the fan base responds to him. You know what I'm saying?
Right. The thing is, Tiki says it best: when you win, it cures a lot of ills. It doesn't matter where you guys are in the season, on the stands and stuff like that. You get one good team win, and it just you forget about a lot.
It snowballs.
It snowballs when it's not just one win; it's three. Now, here's the thing. This is why I had said in our group chat that Jones is in trouble. It's not so much because I think that DeVito will take Jones' job. I think that DeVito is an outstanding looking backup, potentially a starter. Who knows? There's a couple things I think that personally I think that he's a little bit small, and I think that eventually that might end up being an issue. I think, especially when he runs the way that he runs. Injury wise and stuff, because the kid's got balls. He's got that East Coast, New York, New Jersey kind of attitude and mentality. So he's got balls. He takes hits.
He lowered his head. He lowered his head and knocked
after he got hit, he took a slide and he got hit on the slide, and then after that he stopped sliding. He started hitting back, and that's I don't know, that's
he knocked that guy out. He knocked that guy out of the game.
Yeah, he did. He took him out for a play or two.
Exactly.
But I think that the reason that Jones's job is in trouble is because if you have a serviceable backup, then now you give the you give the front office a chance, a little bit of more breathing room when it comes to deciding their starter, right? So if they got to take another QB in this draft over here, they can still put him in the rotation behind Danny Dimes. With Tommy DeVito still being a good backup, and if they got to ship Danny off and put in this the new QB in the front line while still having DeVito there to kind of back him up, I don't know. I think that causes a bit more issues for Danny Jones than anything else. I think.
So let me play devil's advocate.
I don't think Tommy DeVito takes Daniel Jones' job. But I just think that it forces the front office to ask certain questions that maybe would not have been asked if Danny Dimes was still the number one guy there.
So here's the thing that I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna play like I said, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, right?
Yeah.
You basically have the same team that Daniel Jones had at the beginning of the season, right? You're actually down a man because Darren Waller is not playing. You're down because I don't think Andrew Thomas played today either, right?
I didn't hear his name at all, actually.
Right. So you're looking at a team that, in theory, is a lesser team than the one that Daniel Jones started the season with, right? Yeah. And Daniel Jones had his big time struggles at the beginning of the year, whereas Tommy Cutlets, as they're calling him. I still like Tommy TD, but what the heck? Tommy Cutlets here, he's 3-0. What happens if he wins out? Or let's say you're 5-8 right now, right? Let's say he wins. What do you got? 5 games left. Let's say he goes 4-1, 3-2 even, and 3-2 in very, very competitive.
And he's 6-2 for the season, just him.
I mean, what kind of conversations do you have at that point?
Well, again, you've heard me say this a million times that I think context matters, and context definitely matters here. We take a look at the schedule that Daniel Jones had to deal with, and the schedule that Tommy has to deal with so far,
Sure.
right? Tommy has had the Commanders, the Patriots, and now the Packers, and the Packers still kind of in a little bit of a prove it year for Jordan Love. Not to prove it that he's going to he's their future, 100%. He's already proven it that he's their
Oh
future,
yeah,
but he's
absolutely.
still not proven yet. They talked about on the broadcast that like even though he's a Lambeau Field quarterback, he has yet to play in the cold, and it seems like the cold affected him today.
Mm.
You saw him like rubbing his hands, having like issues keeping his hands warm. He's just maybe not used to it. Maybe that was the main effect that he had today, just not comfortable in the cold, and it was quite cold today.
Well, let's not discount the fact that the Patriots and Packers have pretty good defenses. So,
Right, they do absolutely, but they're still, but the Packers, I think, are quite a bit above the Patriots when it comes to offense, right?
oh,
So,
of course.
even though they have good
Yeah.
defense, we have our defense that has finally started putting it together. But again, looking at just the schedules, Daniel Jones has had the worst part of the schedule by far. Now, couple that with the fact that the defense was not doing anything remotely to what they're doing now, and not giving Daniel Jones really a chance to breathe, or the team a chance to really to do anything. When you're down 20, 30 points, all you can do is try to make big plays happen as opposed to chip away. And then an offensive line that didn't seem to get their shit together until now, because if we look at it, it's like, Tommy DeVito took a ton of sacks since he started. You know how many he took tonight? 0.
Did he really?
0 sacks. The Giants, for the first time this season, I think the first time, did not allow a single sack in the game. And Packers defense is a legitimate defense.
Yes,
I think that the O-line has finally kind of gotten some of their things together. And I think that the fact that the season has gone on the way that it's gone, the Vito and the offensive line and the offensive coaches know, like, hey, your O-line is crap. Be ready to run. And I think DeVito has been able to learn that, through kind of like experience throughout the season, the team experiencing it throughout the season. Whereas Daniel Jones has had to learn about that the hard way, right? Taking all those hits, not having anything that he could really utilize, as well as having the worst part of the schedule. So to sum it all up, the numbers are important. DeVito is definitely going to have obviously already better numbers. He's 3-2. He's already the best quarterback in New York, I think. Well, at least the best quarterback on the Giants. But the context is going to be important. So,
yeah.
But super kudos on giving us at least one primetime win.
Listen,
So
he
very
had
happy about that.
he had a really, really good game stat wise. He was 17 of 21 for 158 yards, 1 touchdown, 10 carries for 71 yards, which was big, especially
7.2 yards per carry, I believe.
Yeah, and again,
Better
like I
stats than
said,
Barkley, technically.
big because at the time that he was basically carrying the running game.
Yeah.
Saquon came on at the very end, but big time numbers. His rating was 113. So
yeah, exactly. He had an over 80% completion rating.
Yeah,
I mean, you literally and you want to know what's the most impressive thing about tonight, and we definitely got to talk about the Jets and their big win. But the most impressive thing about Tommy DeVito tonight was not like a few of those passes that looked amazing for sure. It wasn't the guts that he really showed throughout the game in general with some of the runs that he played. It wasn't even that crazy ridiculous Uncle Sal of an agent that he's got with him, which we're going to talk about in a moment.
Oh, I thought you were leading up to that.
No.
Come on.
It was the fact. No, listen. It was the fact that in the face of adversity, when the team is down because of a mistake that Barkley made. I mean, we all make mistakes. I did think that was a little bit questionable. They said that that he wasn't tackled. Technically, he was. If the tackles would cause a trip, regardless, that to respond the way that DeVito responded, in a way where he didn't say, "Hey, like it's not." He went down there, and it's like every single play he called, he executed. He executed to perfection. He got it to within field goal range, to within game winning range, with like 40 seconds still to spare.
Yeah. And if you hear him afterwards, he was like, "Well, I've played this game for a while, so giving no fucks whatsoever." You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like
yeah, that's
it
what I'm
was
saying.
just like,
That's
dude,
what's so
I've been doing this all my life. Why am I gonna be frazzled by this moment?
That's what's so impressive to me is the fact that he can go from I'm winning this game to, oh crap, this game is being taken away from me. No, I'm gonna take this game back, and he did it in stellar fashion. I mean, that's the most impressive thing to me. Now his Uncle Sal, I don't know if it's his uncle. I'm assuming it's his uncle. They
That's
have
what
a lot of
everybody says on Twitter.
similarities. You got that clip of his agent.
I gotta put it on. Hold on.
So if you look at him, honestly, if you look at him, they look like they're related. To be honest, now I don't know if that's an Italian thing, a Jersey thing, but they look like they're related.
It's the Roman nose. It's roaming all over the place.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! And that outfit, the look, like I mean, clearly, my man is putting it on. Oh my goodness, bro! With the fedora and everything, who's this guy think he is? Al Pacino in The Godfather?
Homeboy had the fedora. He was on the phone. He got the chains busted out.
I know, my
wearing
man.
the pinstripe suit. I mean, come on, everything about Tommy DeVito is just bananas right now.
It is. I mean, this is Lynn's sanity times 10, bro.
Oh
this
my
is crazy.
gosh! I mean, listen, he's living his best life right now.
I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of like memes out there on the recipe to success. I think that the recipe to success is chicken cutlets and your mom doing your laundry. I'm gonna have to give up my place and move back in with my mom's.
I'm telling you. I mean, you look at what Tommy DeVito is doing right now. First of all, during the bye week, he goes out and he's at a restaurant, and you were talking about hundreds and hundreds of people showing up to get a piece of Tommy cutlets, right? And then you got the video. I don't know if you saw it on Instagram or Twitter, where he's rating pastas.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I gotta send it to you afterwards.
I truly do hope that it isn't just 15 minutes of fame for this kid, because this kid can play. That's the thing. This kid can play. He can throw. He can make the nice, easy, beautiful throws. He can play. He has the sharp throws. He has the long ball. He can run. He can take hits. He can give hits. He can give the hits right back, bro. He's doing everything. I have been proven wrong. It's unbelievable. I love being proven wrong when it means that the Giants are winning.
He's Brock Purdy of the Northeast.
God, could you imagine, bro? Could you imagine?
So let's go to the other team.
Let's go to the other team. This one, I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one. I'm still a little bit on the I'm on a chicken cutlet high. Tell me, I mean, like if you look at the score, 30-6, this is one hell of a blowout.
It's even more impressive when you think about that. The fact that all those 30 points came in the second half. So that just kind of makes it even more impressive, because if you think about it, they went into halftime 0-0.
That's true.
All the points were scored in the second half. So, this is more than an offensive explosion. So I was lucky enough to be at the stadium. And you were supposed to be there, and unfortunately you couldn't make it, right?
Right.
But we were out there in the driving rain and stuff like that. It was a ticket that both you and we were wondering, should we even go, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited to go just because it was a game, and it was the only other game I was going to be able to go this season to this season. But certain circumstances prevented me, and then it just kind of became, I'm not going to lie. Part of the decision was, all right, I'm going to go there for 2 quarters to see the Jets get blown out, and then have to rush back in the pay for the parking in the rain. like all that stuff. It was just like part of it was like, I don't know if it makes sense to drive an hour away, pay the amount of money that I'm paying for parking, leave in the middle of the fourth quarter if I wanted to get back to a movie date that I had planned and all that stuff.
Listen,
Um,
you weren't the older one because we got there a little bit early. We were in the parking lot by like around 11:30. 12 o'clock, we're in the stadium. Dude, when I tell you that when I got to the Pepsi gate, there was literally nobody online. Like I literally walked up right to the metal detectors with
yeah,
nobody in front of me. That's how quick it was. I don't think I've ever been to a game where I could literally just walk right in.
I mean
That's what
that
happened.
stadium looked pretty empty. So
And when we sat down, and again, it was maybe about 45 minutes to the opening kickoff. The stadium was at best a third full, right? And so by the time game time started, we're in the second quarter. You probably got to half attendance,
yeah,
and it's interesting enough because after the game, Brees Hall commented on that. We'll talk about that a little bit
yeah, I
later.
definitely want to get to that because that was an interesting take by someone,
Yeah,
and I did not expect it from him.
right, exactly. So that's what I want to touch upon a little bit
Yeah,
later. And I don't have the video now, but in post I'll drop it in so that everybody knows what we're talking about.
yeah,
Um, but interesting thing when Zach was announced, the stadium actually gave him an ovation. So
okay,
which I thought was interesting, and I thought it was actually a good thing to do for Jet fans. You know what I'm saying? Because Zach Wilson, let's be honest, that kid has had a rough 3 years, and this week was one of the roughest for him, right?
it
He
might have been the roughest.
Yeah, aside from the fact that a couple of weeks ago, Joe Namath was saying that you got to get rid of this kid, right? But this was definitely a very rough week for Zach, and to see him respond in this way, um, I have mixed feelings about that.
It's oh man, I got thoughts too, man.
I got mixed feelings. I'm glad that he balled out, and let me tell you something. Um, the Texans aren't any slouches, right? Yes, what's his name was missing his top two wide receivers, CJ Stroud, but that defense is pretty good, and that team was playing for something. They're playing for a playoff spot.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
you can't take that away from Zach. He wasn't playing a slouch of a team. He was playing a team that actually had something to play for. And
yeah,
that group, offense, defense, special teams, probably the first time in a long time we've seen all three facets working together, playing complementary football.
I had
So
told you that I thought that it was the first time in 3 years, or actually since Zach has been there, where every single phase of the teams of your teams played, not just serviceable and not just complimentary football,
mhm.
but great football, right? Like this is the first time that I saw great offense, great defense, great special teams, all in the same game. Sorry,
It only took Keena how many minutes? 28 minutes to
actually
make
she's been at
herself
it since the
known,
beginning, but I've been able to
right?
kind of keep her at bay.
Yeah.
Um, but I have very, very specific feelings on it. You say that you have mixed feelings about it. What are your mixed feelings on Zach Wilson's play?
So it's always overreaction Monday when it comes to the Jets. Always. It never
Okay.
fails,
Yeah.
right? So we went from a place where Zach sucks, Zach needs to leave, we need to get another quarterback, Zach can never play here again, to now all of a sudden Jet fans saying, well, you know what? Maybe we misjudged Zach, maybe he's the savior, maybe he doesn't get traded as per some of the reports that were floating around this week, that Salah had a conversation with Zach saying that he was going to be traded at the end of the year. It's always overreactions when it comes to the Jets, and specifically with Zach.
Yeah.
My feeling is this, Zach, again, not to take anything away from him, he had a fantastic game. arguably and probably not arguably his best performance of the year, of his career. Take that back, of his career, right? But it's only one game. And that's
Right.
the problem that I have. If we're going to ride this Zach train to the last stop, I need to see him do this on a consistent basis. If he does this again next week against the Miami Dolphins in Miami, then you know what? Maybe we can have that conversation. But to me, I still believe that Zach should not be a Jet next year, regardless. And this is the reason why. Okay. If we look at the two best performances that Zach has had this year, the one against Kansas City and the one on thank you. There you go.
That's a new one.
I know. Listen, I don't know. So the one with Kansas City and the one yesterday, now we're recording this on Monday, right? But the one on Sunday against the Texans, right? What is the thing that Zach had coming into this? He had zero pressure.
Yes, that's what I want.
The Kansas City game, he was already at a point where people already started to question him. Nobody expected him to do anything against the world champs, and he balled out. And you go into this game, and he literally said it in to DJ Reed. He was like, you know what? I'm not playing for me anymore. I'm playing for y'all. You know what I'm saying? What's the worst thing that can happen? I get benched again?
Right.
He had zero pressure, and that's the problem that I have here, because we have not seen Zach play with pressure, and when we have seen it, he hasn't played well. It's when he has zero pressure where he's able to free himself and do this. Now, whether that's a mindset change, whether that's something that he has to adopt, but the fact of the matter is that his two best games happened when there was no expectations of him at all.
I'll do you one. I'll do you one better. His 4 best games this season. What are the 4 best games? The Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, and now the Texans. In none of those games were there any expectations for him, because nobody would expect him to beat the Bills after not being the one that should have even started this season. Him coming in, nobody expected him to do anything against the Bills, so he had no pressure to win the game. Against the Chiefs, nobody thought that he had a chance at all to be to play against the Super Bowl champions. Well, relax. Against the Eagles, it's the Eagles again. Nobody gave you guys a shot. Never mind the fact that you guys were essentially completely that the Eagles were undefeated against you guys. It's the Eagles versus Zach Wilson. Again, no pressure to win. Of course, a win is what everybody would wish for, but nobody thought that he would win. And same thing here against the Texans, no pressure whatsoever. He can only play when there's absolutely zero pressure, it seems like. And that's a big problem, because what happens if next year you guys end up going to the Super Bowl? Aaron Rodgers goes down in the first first 4 plays again. And this is a big what if, by the way. But let's just say it's the Super Bowl. It's not. There could be no bigger pressure, and I don't know that you can count on Zach Wilson to be the guy to lead you down the field when literally everything is on the line. Knock it off.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like I said, and it could be just something as simple as just like I said before, Zach having a mindset change where it's like, you know what, I just got to go out there and play free and not worry about it. And he even said it, in his post game. He was like talking, and I'm gonna show you one of those plays later on, because there's 3 plays that I wanted to highlight from Zach's game. But I don't know if it's a mindset that he needs to adopt.
Fighting my cat, by the way. Sorry.
Yes, I know. I need to put like a little Street Fighter graphics up there. You know what I'm saying? Do we need health bars?
Health bars? I lose.
So,
Yeah.
again, like I said, with Zach, I don't know if it's a mindset change that he needs to undergo. Maybe not put any pressure on himself, because when he's playing free, he's playing amazing. And when you look at some of the highlights that we're going to look at a little bit later, this is the thing that you keep on saying, the phrase "red dress," right? And that's what Zach is at this point, unfortunately, right? Because we've been tantalized by drips and drabs of plays of Zach,
This is
where
what
it's
he
like,
does. This is what he does.
yeah,
I said it
exactly.
before the game. He's going to go out there and throw 3 touchdown passes. He only threw
He
2.
almost
He's
did.
going to go out there and he's going to make you guys fall in love all over again.
And that's what Zach does, unfortunately.
Oh my
And,
God.
and that's why I say, for me personally, as a 40-year Jet fan, you know what I'm saying, I can't allow myself to fall in love with Zach again, because we've done it too many times already. We've given this kid a lot of chances. And listen, he's a good kid. It seems like he's a good kid. He seems like he's a hard worker. But the fact of the matter is, we can't be tantalized by the play here and there unless he gets this to a consistent level. And he may do this someplace else. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that he goes to a place where he gets coached up and he finds his comfort level someplace else. I just don't think it's going to happen here.
Well, here's the reason why I don't think that it really shouldn't happen here. One, I think it's for 2 reasons really. The you can say that he just hasn't shown you enough to warrant the investment. I think that's my take. If he's had this one game, like prior to this game, I think that the majority of Jets Nation, whether you are a Zach defender or not, were already accepting that this is it. That it's over for Zach here in New York. And if that is the majority consensus of not just the media pundits, the fans, and most likely people in the field themselves, on the team themselves, one game should not replace 32 other starts.
Right.
Okay, this kid has had a ton of starts to make it work, to make it happen. And the truth is that, we keep pointing to Nathaniel Hackett, letting the kid throw, letting the kid play and all that stuff. And sure, Nathaniel Hackett hasn't proven anything. But there's plenty of proof throughout this season itself that there is evidence that the big plays have been called for him, and he just chooses not to throw the ball. Maybe he doesn't trust himself, or what's the biggest thing that we have going on with Zach this season is that he's always holding the ball too long. Right. There's a small window in some of those plays, and sometimes it's like, oh, Nathaniel Hackett didn't call the play for him, but maybe Zach Wilson's just not seeing the play. I have a hard time believing that Nathaniel Hackett just suddenly decided, like, oh, you know what, I'm going to change the playbook just for this one half.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
It's funny you say that, because when we were at the stadium early in the first half, there was a point where Tyler Conklin was open at the 1-yard marker and literally standing right in front of Zach, and Zach totally disregarded him and tried to go for a pass further downfield where there was.
I remember that one. Conklin was wide open, and that was the play to make.
Right, exactly. And he disregarded that, and so everybody, at least in my section, they were just moaning, because it was clear, like literally you could have dropped a Godzilla atomic ray on him and nobody would have gotten hurt, right? That's how wide open he was, and he was literally right in front of Zach, and Zach chose to go for the harder play, which was, I believe, Garrett Wilson, and he was covered already by like 2 or 3 defenders and stuff like that, obviously an incompletion. So, those are the things that drive you nuts. But let's take a look at some of the things that
he
Zach Wilson did well,
Yeah.
And so I picked 3 throws, and I want to go through it with you and stuff like that. The first throw is going to be one to Conklin, and Conklin had 2 similar catches like this, one in the third quarter, which was a 3rd and 12. But I chose this one, which I believe it was a 2nd and 4, and this happened in the first quarter, because I thought the placement that Zach had in this one was a lot more difficult than the 3rd and 12 in the third quarter. And you'll see the reason why. In this one here, you see Conklin there, and he's kind of bracketed between two defenders there. And so for me, like I said, I thought that was a really good play for Zach in terms of placement. And what's the thing that we've always said? Touch is something that Zach doesn't do really
That
well,
had a
right?
nice little touch to the ball.
That
It
had a
didn't.
nice
It wasn't
little
like
touch.
no straight beaming shot. It was a nice little. Not a lob, not a super floater, but it looked like it sailed over to Conklin.
Exactly. And that's a play that if he had put a little too much on it, that safety that was behind Conklin would have easily gotten that as an interception. So that was one of the plays that I thought Zach did really well, and he made a really good read on that. And like I said, I didn't pick the third one because the third one, it was just Conklin against a defender, and he didn't have anyone in front of him and stuff. I picked this one because I thought it was good placement, nice touch on the ball. So these are the things that you see Zach doing, and you're like,
like, why haven't you been doing it?
Exactly.
I mean, I can recall easily 3 off the top of my head, Garrett Wilson completely wide open or with enough separation that he could have gotten like easy lob plays that would have been touchdowns. And all you see at the end of the play is either a check down pass, Zach is holding too long, Zach makes a back pass, and Garrett Wilson jumping up and down out of frustration.
Right. And another reason why I wanted to put the Conklin play in there is something that I've spoken about before. One of the reasons why Zach holds the ball so well is he's waiting for his wide receivers to get open. And I've mentioned this a couple of times. A quarterback's job is not to find the open guy. A quarterback's job is to get the guy open. You know what I'm saying? You throw the guy open. And that's the case that happened here, because if you look at the play again, Zach, Conklin was relatively well defended on that play. And Zach threw it up to let his playmakers make plays, And so old Zach probably would have held that ball, probably would have gotten sacked. You know what I'm saying? This particular version of Zach decided, you know what? I'm going to throw the guy open. I'm going to throw it up and let him make that play.
Red dress Zach.
Exactly.
Zach, red dress. He threw to his tight ends a whole lot more this game.
He did, and that's a sign of him taking his checkdowns. Looking, because one of the things that I did notice here is he was making multiple reads instead of just doing the one read that he normally does. This one he was making multiple reads and taking the check down to either Breece Hall or Tyler Conklin. They both had really, really big games this week. The second one.
Before we go, I just want to give props out to Conklin again, and I've been saying this over and over and over again. Conklin has actually been your most reliable receiver this entire season.
He has been.
I think even more reliable than Garrett Wilson.
And it's funny because when we got Conklin as a free agent, remember he came as a package deal. It was him and Uzama, and I think everybody thought Uzama was the guy. And he's kind of faded into the background. And Tyler
Conklin is good, man. Conklin is he's looking great. He's looking top 10 to me. He knows how to run out. He can block real well and stuff. He can make plays.
Good hands.
He's got good hands. He can fight for the ball. He's not perfect. He's dropped a few passes for sure this season, but he's been really solid. Yeah. Anyway, next play.
All right, the second one. The second clip, I had to play it. This is the throw that made Zach Wilson the second pick in the draft. This is the BYU throw, the pro day throw that everybody saw.
Let's see this throw.
Everybody fell in love with. This was the play. And if you look at it, and there's a high, there's not. See, this is the reason why people fall in love with Zach, right? Because this is a high level. This is an elite. There are not a lot of quarterbacks in this league that can make that throw.
That's true. That's true. But again, what do we say? Zach Wilson knows how to make the hard stuff look easy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Part of me wants to kind of go back to BYU and see if like all these highlights were really just easy throws that he made look hard.
It could be, but I mean, like I said,
I'm not saying that this throw was easy and he made it look hard, by the way. I just think that he has a knack for being able to like, make the hard throws look easy, of course, as you just heard me say. But it's just maybe he's just able to, I don't know what it is where he's able to do that, but can't sometimes just do a simple screen pass. I don't know.
well, he has fixed those issues this year. You know what I'm saying? Those were issues of mechanics. Those were issues of him trying to screen the ball and do a Mortal Kombat size hole in your chest, right, with the ball and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
he did, and in this game he showed it too. He was able to hit like a bunch of people in the flats, without worrying. Like I didn't really feel like I was holding my breath as I usually do every time he has the ball.
Yeah. So, like I
I
said,
mean, a 30-6, even though it was in the second half, a 30-6 deficit definitely like gives you a bit of breathing room.
and it also shows you what the defense can do, right?
Yeah,
Because once they got and this was the promise of Aaron Rodgers, right? This was the promise of having a quarterback that can give you a lead, which allows that defense and how talented that defense is to kind of pin its ears back and just get after the quarterback. Because once they got out to that big lead, CJ Stroud was done. It
yeah.
was
I mean,
three. It
aside
was
from the fact that
three
he
and
also
out.
suffered a concussion, part of me feels like maybe they took him out and put him in concussion protocol because they were waving the white flag. They're like,
Well,
you know what?
he did hit his head hard.
He did, but I also feel like it was also kind of a bit of an opportunity. Like, look, this game is already far enough away from us.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's just have you sit concussion protocol. There's no point in going out there and taking more hits.
Yeah,
I think part of it was that a little bit too. But I got two things. I want to talk about the two major problems that you guys are facing now. Okay, now that you have Zach with the red dress again, you know, here's the issue that you guys have. Okay, next year, Aaron Rodgers is here, and let's say he plays 70% of the games and gets you to the postseason. It is the last year on Zach Wilson's contract. Essentially, this is the year that you would be making your decision on signing him for a contract in his fifth year. No.
So yeah, so here's what I'm going to say about that. And this goes back to that report that we were talking about earlier before. I don't think Zach is here next year. I really truly don't. I think
But I need to play devil's advocate though, real quick. Here's the thing.
okay.
I understand that you're saying that like you don't think that he's going to be here, but what if he goes out and wins out? You think that the front office isn't going to consider keeping him here with Aaron Rodgers next year?
Well, here's what it is though. Zach Wilson, by winning out, puts himself into a position where he's going to be attractive to other teams, right? Because again, what have we said here? The red dress, right? What have we said here? The promise of Zach Wilson, right? And it's not just with the Jets, because you hear it around the league. Zach, for whatever reason, has a ton of supporters throughout the league, not just within this front office. You listen to Micah Parsons, who's railing and talking about how he loves the guy. You hear it from after the Kansas City game, everybody said, you know what, you're balling out. We think you're great and stuff like that. Zach has a lot of supporters in this league.
He does. How
And
much of that is
so,
pity?
I don't know if it is, because you look at it and the kid, he tantalizes you with this talent, right? Like I said, that last throw, and we have a third throw that I'm going to show you, which again, it's one of these things where it's like you look at this and you say, man, if I can get my hands on this kid and coach him up, this kid could be really, really good, because he's athletic.
I don't know, man.
He's mobile. He can throw the ball on the run. He's got a strong arm. You know what I'm saying? So he's
But two things: can he see downfield, and can he lead the team?
And so, like I said, again, you have to look at this and say there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be willing to take a flyer on this kid because of the talent that he has, right? So
Mhm.
let's say, for example, like you said, he balls out and he maybe doesn't run the table, but he plays well enough to keep that conversation going, right? The Jets are in a perfect position here now, because the problem with the Jets next year, and say what you will about Joe Douglas, but Joe Douglas, when he was negotiating this Aaron Rodgers thing, the trade, you got to give him a lot of credit for what he did with that first round pick and how he said, if he doesn't play, you all get only a second round pick, right? Because
Yeah,
imagine the furor that New York would have been under if Aaron Rodgers goes down and we have this horrible season and that first round pick goes to Green Bay.
I know. Yeah,
Imagine
that's
what that would
absolutely
be like.
true. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's absolutely true.
So you got to give JD credit on that, right? But the problem that the Jets have, and I think this probably leads into the reason why they didn't go after any quarterbacks early in the season that were on other teams, is because next year the Jets don't have a lot of draft picks. You know what I'm saying? They don't have a second round draft pick. I believe they only have maybe 6 picks for the entire round. That's a far cry from what the Jets are used to, where they're usually picking 10, 11, 12 players and stuff like that. And there are needs that need to be filled on this squad. So if Zach Wilson plays well, then you know what? You can trade him for like a 2 or a 3, or maybe a 3 or a 4. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah,
gives you draft capital. That's something that the Jets need right now. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm almost to the point where I'm like, let Zach play and let him ball out, because it's beneficial for him, because he'll have a job someplace else, but it's also beneficial for us because his trade capital just goes that much higher, right?
yeah.
So
The issue that I face here's the thing. Okay, if he balls out, then yes, he shouldn't be on the team next year. But I don't know that the front office looks at it that way. If he balls out, Aaron Rodgers is the one that's going to be defending him. Hey, keep him here. Look what he did. I can mold him.
well, you also have to look at the report that came out, right? There's a report that said that during this week, right, which was hell
Right.
week for Zach. There was a report that said that Salah already had a conversation with him regarding that, and that he was made aware that they are going to trade him in the offseason, right? So, and that leads into kind of like this whole, will he play, won't he play?
Maybe that's the reason he balled out. Maybe
Huh?
because he already knows that his future is already it's already been sealed.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things that go into this. And when Robert Saleh was asked directly that question, did you have a conversation about him being traded? He said, well, I really don't have anything to say about that. You might have to ask Joe Douglas about that. I mean, did you have a conversation or not? All you had to do was
Yeah,
say yes or
he
no,
just doesn't know.
right?
The thing is, he doesn't know how to lie, but then he also doesn't know how to spin the media, and that's the issue.
Exactly.
It's very
So
easy to see. It's very easy to see when he's hiding something.
exactly. So
Oh,
that leads me to believe that that conversation actually happened. And
doesn't
so
it kind of, if the reports are true, then if that's true, and the reason that he balled out was because he's already has his future sealed in the
that
whole
also
nine.
sucks, right?
Well, doesn't that make you mad as a Jets fan that
I know.
he'll play like this for another team, because that's what he's doing. He's looking at it as like, well, if I'm being traded, I need to look good for the other team. He can play like this for another team, but he won't play for you guys like that.
I know. And that's what I said.
Yeah,
It
that
sucks.
gotta suck.
It does, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I can't wrap myself around the fact that people want him to stay here next year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just one of these things where it's like you can't really keep him. You gotta just you know you gotta bite the bullet and say, hey, it was real, time to go. You
I
know
mean,
what I'm
ultimately,
saying?
that's the thing. Like, regardless of the results that we have right now, his contract that would happen for the 2025 season, that decision's got to be made now. And if you're going to make that decision now, the answer has to be no. Okay, it's not like
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, where like Daniel Jones proved it and earned his contract, despite the fact that he's not able to play right now and there's questions all up in the air. He did his job and proved, or rather, earned the right to negotiate for that contract.
He's got a body of work that you can look at and say, okay, you know
Right.
what, we can work with
Zach,
this guy. Zach hasn't given that.
Zach Daniel Jones year should be next year, but unfortunately, that's Aaron Rodgers' year.
Right.
And really, like, that's why it doesn't make sense to like even keep him around. You got to make the decision now, and I do think that the decision's been made for him. The other problem that I think that you guys have is I still think that you guys have a bit of a team issue, a team personnel. I mean, you hear about like having rats inside. We've heard issues with like players talking to media in a certain way, or like and Anaconda got called up after the trade. It was Hardman, right? That got traded. I forgot.
Hardman got traded. Carter got released.
Carter. It was after Carter got released. Yeah,
Carter got
and
released.
that where you hear players kind of with this discontent and stuff.
Well, Carter was a tough bullet because he was a guy. Granted, he hasn't played well in 2 years, but he was a popular guy in that locker room.
Right.
And he was a leader also. So,
but still, again, the Mike White shirts, all this stuff. I just feel like there's a lot of this, kind of unnecessary distraction by the Jets players, right?
Yeah.
Another one that happened right after this game, after this amazing, like this should be the most feel good game of the entire season. 30-6, you guys, blow expectations out in the whole nine, and then you got Breece Hall who made that comment about the fans. I don't remember exactly what the comment was, but I know that when you told me the comment, I was kind of taken aback. First, because it was Breece Hall. I didn't think that something like that would come out of his mouth. And second, because I don't know, I think he's way wrong on his take.
So, and I'm surprised that I haven't seen this more on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. But right after the game on SNY, they have, by the way, SNY has a great post game rap with Bart Scott and Connor Rogers and Willie Colon and stuff like that. And I think it's Steve Gelb that runs that. Their post show is awesome, right?
Right.
But so we were driving, and so I had YouTube TV on. I wasn't looking at it while I was driving. My wife was. But I did have it playing on the speakers, and I believe, I can't remember the reporter who it was, whether it was Janae Coakley or whatever, but they were having a conversation with Breece. Now, Breece is, I don't want to say cocky, but he does come across as overly confident. And sometimes that can rub people the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? And he hasn't had an instance of that to date, but you hear it every once in a while because he has this thing where supposedly him and Garrett have this this kind of like rivalry, and he says, well, you know what, me and him, we always fight about it, but I know I'm the best player on the field. And it's kind of hard for you to say that when the production is not matching what you're saying,
right?
And again, it's a little bit more difficult for a running back because what do you need for a running back to be? You have to have a good passing game to kind of open up those running lanes, and you have to have a good offensive line that's consistent, right? So the quote that you're talking about, after the game, they were asking about how he thought the team did, how he thought he did, and somehow the conversation got into the fence. Now, you and I, we spoke about this earlier on how the stadium on a very, very bad rainy day was pretty empty.
It was pretty empty. It didn't sound empty, but it was pretty empty.
Yeah. Well, listen, the people that were there, they were into the game. You know what I'm saying? It's just that 50% of them weren't there. Breece goes and he says, well, you know what? I didn't see a lot of green. I saw a lot of empty seats. The fans, need to be out there. Y'all need to do better.
You guys won in the rain, all this bad weather, the fans. What do you want to say to these fans that stayed here and
It wasn't enough green in here today, and there was too many open seats. So Jets fans, we got to do better. But
that is such a horrible take.
That is tone deaf. If
that is really tone deaf,
because you're talking about a team that came in with expectations. You're talking about a team that has been compared historically to one of the worst offenses in history, not this year, not in the last decade, in history. Okay,
I think by the numbers it is up until this Sunday. By the numbers, you guys did have the worst offense in the history of the sport.
Absolutely. You're talking about a team that came into the game on a 5-game losing streak, and in that 5 games, they only reached double digits twice. And you're going to talk about
I love it. I love it when you do your rants and you forget that you have that on, and suddenly it's like
basketball.
Apple's like, oh wait, I think he's celebrating.
But I mean, okay. Balloons aside, maybe Breece Hall needs more balloons in his life, right?
Maybe. Yeah, I think it was a terrible take.
Oh my gosh.
I think that it's just the frustrations of the season coming out, but they really you got that one. You're just
that's not the
terrible, man. Like we're talking about of all the fans in football. Okay, I would say probably the Dolphins fans, which I know that it's your hated rivals, but I would say that the Dolphins fans are fans that have stuck with their team, showed up to every game despite having terrible seasons. The Jets are right there, right? I would say worse than that.
And the Lions.
The Jets have been way worse than that, and the fans have always showed up. And in the worst possible season that they could be playing for, or coming for,
in a victory. You put that out.
In a victory, you do this, right? But not only that, let's not forget that the fans are being asked to come and support the team with the worst offense, potentially the worst offense in the history of football, in this ridiculous weather, in the worst stadium in the entire league, for a team that's asking them to pay for season tickets early. Tickets skyrocketing because you thought that you were paying for tickets to see Aaron Rodgers, and instead you're not. Okay, you cannot blame the fans here. That is a terrible take, and Breece Hall needs to do better. Honestly,
yeah.
To be honest with you, straight up, I'm not a Jets fan. I'm a Giants fan. Everybody knows this, but Breece Hall needs to do better on the field than off the field. If this is how he's going to be,
it's true, because you know what, like you said, Breece Hall has not been Breece Hall this year. Now you can blame the ACL injury that he had last year. You could blame the fact that the play calling. You can blame a myriad of things, but Breece Hall is not Breece Hall this year.
You don't get to talk like that, bro.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, like you said, this fan base has been religious in how well they support their team. And this is your take? And again, say that if they're winning 5 in a row.
Yeah.
Y'all lost 5 in a row.
Yeah, I know, man.
I know. I mean, that was just really, really bad,
man.
So
I know that we still got to look ahead and stuff, but I'm just checking Instagram real quick. Obviously my entire IG feed is loving the whole Giants win in the whole night, but I'm looking at this picture and it's pretty awesome because it's Joe Shane in the locker room doing the Tommy DeVito.
Oh my god!
With the entire team. Let me see if I can put it up to the screen. How do I do this? That's Joe Shane right there doing the Tommy DeVito with the team. I mean, like hell of a it was awesome. And another funny thing. So what's the stat that Tommy DeVito has with Belichick? I think he's like the only undrafted QB to beat Belichick or something like that.
Probably.
or the only like
Belichick has a really, really good record with young quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think he's also like the only rookie to beat Belichick as well, something like that.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur, he's 16. He was 16-0 playing in December. He is now 16-1.
I'm telling you, Tommy DeVito
16-1 giant loss.
Tommy DeVito is the guy. Let's talk about up what's up next. I think we're done with the Jets, especially with that bad taste of Breece Hall in my mouth.
All right. Before we move on, let's not forget. Okay, you guys did have an awesome win. I think that I had a ton of fun watching the game, and I think that the biggest takeaway is that the Jets can put a product out there that the fans deserve if they really, really want to.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, all the talk was like we don't have weapons. The Jets have weapons. They just weren't utilized correctly up until this point.
Yeah,
so they have some guys. Of course, they can get better, but they have some guys. Let's talk about next week. Next week is going to be very, very interesting.
Oh my God, it's at one, both games. Oh,
listen, we've been pretty good this year so far.
We have, but see, this is the thing. All right, we've been pretty good, but this is why this sucks. Is because we're finally, even though it's super late in the season,
important game.
We're finally sort of relevant, and now we got to be like sharing time.
But these are important games, believe it or not, for both teams. Like I said, more so for you guys because with your victory today, you're one game out of a playoff spot. Despite the fact that we both have the same records, you are in a better position because the 7th spot and the 7th spot for the wild card, plus every other team that's in front of you, they're all 6 and 7.
Right.
Every single one.
So yes, I need to know exactly what's the scenario where we get the playoff spot. They have the tiebreaker if it's the Packers, right?
Yes, because you beat them. So you get the head-to-head. If we go on to ESPN.com, which I'm trying to do right now.
If we beat the Saints, then we also get the tiebreaker.
Absolutely, because they're in front of you.
And the Seahawks would get the tiebreaker against us.
Because they beat you guys.
Yeah.
So listen, it's there for you. It's there for you. That's the most important thing, you guys have the ability to get there. That's not something that the Jets right now currently have truly.
This game is a must win if we hope to get into the playoffs. We need to win now, and then everyone else needs to lose every game for the rest of their life.
Well, kind of,
or
yeah, kind of. I mean, the teams that aren't favorable for you guys is Seattle, the Rams, I think, and Atlanta, maybe. But you hold your destiny because you're playing the Saints next week. You've beaten Green Bay. And truthfully, Chicago, I don't believe in Chicago, so I don't think they're much of a problem for you. So you're there. You're knocking on the door. You know what I'm saying?
This is crazy, bro. This is crazy that, like, with all this being said, that there's a shot that we get to the playoffs, and that there's even a shot that you guys get to the playoffs.
Well,
that's insane.
We went from having a 0.1% chance to have a 0.4% chance. So we're climbing, baby.
There's a chance.
We're climbing, baby. You know what I'm saying? So
on a rinky dinky jet.
You know what's frustrating? You know what's really frustrating being a Jet fan this year? This is the year that obviously Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be our quarterback, right? But this is also the year that the Bills aren't playing well.
Yeah, this would have been your Super Bowl year, to be honest.
Exactly. The Bills aren't playing well. The Bengals lost Joe Burrow. The Chiefs aren't playing well. You know what I'm saying?
No one's playing well, bro.
Nobody's playing. Everybody's beating each other up. That's the frustrating thing about being a Jets fan right now. You know what I'm saying? So,
and what's got to be even more frustrating, as bad as the Giants season has been, We're still not the worst team in the city.
Well, we have exact same records.
Who would you put out there? Zach Wilson or Tommy DeVito?
Let me put it this way: if we get Texans Zach, we're okay.
Yeah, even but then if you get Tommy DeVito any game, you're also okay.
That's true because our defense is balling.
That's true.
Our special teams is balling.
Man, Giants defense has been killing too. Kayvon Thibodeau has really shut everyone's mouth up, man. He had a bomb-ass game today. Even though it wasn't sack numbers weren't there. But, man, you just heard Kayvon Thibodeau's name all night.
Yeah.
Flott's name, Banks' name. Like, we do have a solid defense. Not as good as the Jets, but, man, I'm very, very happy with the defense that we got. So, anyway.
It's funny. The Jets, their first year, they were good with defense. This year, it's defense and special teams. Do you think maybe next year we get the trifecta?
With Aaron Rodgers? Well, I think that it'll happen next year. You guys get the offense next year. You guys go to the playoffs, don't make the championship, or at least, or maybe you don't win the Super Bowl, and then 2025, every single person on all three of those teams are going elsewhere.
Well,
and that's why you don't keep Zach Wilson.
If Aaron Rodgers is there, I think a lot of those guys stay.
Aaron Rodgers is not going to be here year 3.
You don't think so?
No.
I think he might be.
I don't think that he's Tom Brady. I think that he's not Tom Brady by a long shot.
No, I don't.
If Tom Brady couldn't do it, then I don't think that he can.
But I think he looks at this season and he sees this as a redshirt season for him. And he's probably going to say, you know what? I didn't come here for 1 year. I came here for 2.
Yeah, but Father Time doesn't give a crap about the shirts that you wear. Father Time says, what your body can and cannot do. And I know that he's defying a lot. There's even supposedly still talk of him playing this season, but I would have a really hard time believing that at 41, not even 41, because actually he's turning 41 next year. He's turning 41 mid-season next year. So you're going to tell me that at 42, at almost 42 years old, he's going to play? I doubt that.
Never discount Aaron Rodgers. Although, you know what? He needs to stop talking on McAfee because we're getting conspiracy theory Aaron Rodgers. He's got too much time on his hands. So
anyway,
he needs to stop. So
I think it's quite long in the tooth here. Let's call it a night. Honestly though, I'm not too mad at it. I know it's a little bit of a long podcast, but we got 2 teams to celebrate. Not just 2 teams. The Knicks won freaking killed it tonight. The Rangers won last night. It's a good New York weekend. New York sports weekend. Yankees got Soto. This is it for a weekend at least. Even if it's just for a weekend, New York feels like New York.
$700 million for Ohtani. Oh my God,
that's crazy,
dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for following us all the way to the end. Once again, please like, rate, and share the episode. Especially let people know that we're out here. Subscribe and hit that notify button. Thank you guys very much. Walt, it's been real.
Word up, and as always, go Giants.
Why? I'm the Giants guy.
Come on.
Go Jets. Go Jets. Go Jets.
Go Jets. Later.
Later, guys.